Welcome to the stream, everybody. Oh, I have to close this window for now, and this is something that we're going to be using in the stream today. Welcome to Kendo Tips. My name is Jose. I am a golden in Kendo, and today we're going to watch some Kendo, talk about Kendo. I'm going to share a video of some team matches, and hopefully we can analyze some of this stuff going on. But I'm also going to share something that I think is very valuable for all of us, and that is about journaling for your practice and how to kind of progress and help yourself progress as you go along from practice to avoid kind of burnouts and to avoid feeling frustrated and to kind of always have a goal in mind. So I'm going to share with you my method of doing so. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. We have a new member on the channel. Thank you very much, Javier. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And this support will definitely help me keep making this channel growing. So if you have any suggestions, let me know. For those of you who don't know, we also have a Discord server. It's a great way to contact me if you need to, or also if you would like to send me, if you like to meet more Kendo people, you can join the Discord server. It's completely free. And this way you can talk about Kendo as well outside of the stream. So hopefully you guys can enjoy that. And if you would like to support the channel, again, you can become a member. It's pretty easy. All you have to do is follow the link that I'm about to put up. Okay, so hopefully it will come up soon. But again, Javier, thank you very much. And actually today's theme with journaling came from one of the members of the channel. So it's Kendo Journey, that's his handle in YouTube. So thank you very much for giving me the idea of making this stream today. So hopefully a lot of us can benefit from that. So how's everybody doing? Did you guys have a good Kendo week? Have you guys gotten some good training? Let me know. If you've been following the channel, you know right now I'm training in Japan and also trying to learn some Japanese. So definitely I'll keep you updated with some of the things that I've been working on myself, and that's what I'm going to do also on the journaling part. So I'm going to just put this so I can see better here. Okay, so I thought about maybe we watch one of the fights from the team, from the video that I have for today, and then we'll come back to that journaling part. That way, you know, we get ourselves, we allow people to come in, and also we start watching some Kendo right away. Let me just try something real quick. Okay. Okay, never mind. Perfect. Okay, here we are. So this is a interprefectural match. I got this from the All Japan Kendo Federation website. I will put the link if you guys would like to go watch it on your own. It's on the chat. And this way, if you would like to watch this video later, kind of see some of the stuff that happened in the fight, you're welcome to do so. There was some cool stuff happening in this fight. That's why I kind of wanted to share this video. And this is the final, so obviously the finals are always very interesting. Let me know how you guys feel the sound is and everything, if everything is up to par. Hold on, I have so many windows open right now that I'm kind of getting confused here. Okay. Perfect. And if you haven't, guys, please take a second, hit that like button. It really helps the stream to get pushed out to more people, you know, especially at the beginning. We need that so that way we get more people on the stream. We can talk more about Kendo together. Okay, so this final is Osaka against Fukuoka. Both places I think have great, I mean, there's a lot of great Kendo all over Japan, but particularly I like the Kendo in Osaka and also the Kendo in Fukuoka. So it's very exciting to see this match as the final. And so let's get it going. Let me know if the music is too loud compared to the video, please. And if you guys have any questions or any comments, please don't be shy. Put them in the comment box. That's what I'm here for. So the fight starts very, very energetic. I mentioned this a couple of times when we're watching specifically Shiai. I don't think this happens as often in testing, but definitely happens in Shiai that immediately when the fight starts, there's a little bit of this rearranging where the players kind of become lined up with the corners of the court. And actually, a long time ago, a sensei was talking to me about this, that this is kind of like the natural feel, so you have a little bit more ground, whether it is to cover when you go through or more ground behind you in case you need to go back, right? Especially when you're not used to the court, it's a good thing to kind of do immediately, especially if you think the court is going to be too small. I think it's a good way for you to kind of get a little bit of extra space to work with. So this tournament happened recently, and therefore the rules for COVID still in effect, just so you guys know. Now, we know that there is a restriction in how long you can do Suba Serie for with these rules, right? But there's also the possibility of you getting hit. So I really like how these two players disengage because they're still attentive to each other. They are looking to see if there's an opportunity also to be guarded from the opponent possibly attacking. And then they separate, right? So this is something very important to keep in mind. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you're open because you think that, oh, I'm supposed to separate, he cannot do anything. There's always a possibility that the referees might give the ippon rather than hansoku to the other player, so always be careful. So this is a very dangerous position to be in if you try to do a technique but don't follow up with it, don't follow through. And when I say follow through, I don't mean to go through the opponent to turn, but also kind of just stop flat. And I think that's what happened to White right now. If you look, when he goes forward, he goes for the kote, and then he kind of stays flat for a little bit. Nothing happened, but it could also be, I'm saying it mostly for us to be aware of this type of things, because it could happen that we end up being in a bad position because you stop, right? But that being said, and this is something that I kind of want to make a video about it, I'm studying myself, and this is something that I urge you to pay attention to, the ability for them to be in balance in any position and be able to shift their weight to move. And there's another section in this fight actually that I'm gonna talk about. But if you watch White, there's like a little moment where he just stops pushing with the back leg, right? Let me do it in slow motion real quick. If you watch, he tries to engage for a reaction, right? And then he goes in for maybe a kote. And right after this point right here, there's a moment where like he's standing flat. But immediately, actually it was a little bit before that moment that I just mentioned. Let me try to go back frame by frame real quick. So if you watch, so right about here, right? Like he is kind of flat on his feet, but very briefly, immediately, he engaged for a technique. He tries to go for that man and then gets out. So Might be something worth looking at if you feel that after a technique you're feeling that you're getting flat-footed too often, and you want to avoid this feeling, want to know and understand how to turn your body, how to move so you can push through and be able to get away from this position. I'm gonna talk in the ipon. I'm actually gonna talk a little bit deeper into that because something very interesting happened. So there is a hansoku here, and this hansoku, I think, and maybe the judges are also looking to what's happening behind, but I think that what causes the hansoku is this right here. After they go in Super Serie, red tries to disengage, but white follows him up. Not quite sure. Let's see if we can actually. There's some signs that the judge says or gives, but we really can't hear exactly what's happening there, right? But I think that's what happened. That there was a moment where, red wanted to disengage. The tension wasn't there for an opening, so it kind of looked like he was just trying to stick. Mainly for my feeling of these rules, or the feelings that if I'm shimpanning, the things that I'm keeping in mind is that, is this being done to kind of stall the fight, to kind of get away from fighting? I think this is the moments where it could be hansoku, and maybe that's what happened here, and maybe I don't know if that's how the judges are interpreting it, but it's something very important to keep in mind. There's always a possibility for hansoku, possibility for ippon. Chives, welcome to the stream. Thank you for passing by. Discipline. Second, you can count the seconds. It was longer than 3 seconds. We have a timer, right? So. But again, those 3 seconds are a little bit flexible depending on what's happening. So we have to be mindful of that too, right? So we start, I guess at this point, 30, 31, 32, 33. Actually, right on second 3 is when it happened. I don't think it was because it was longer than 3 seconds. I think it was because he kind of just followed in. So right here, I guess we're going to start, and then, this happens. But again, it could be something different too, so don't quote me on this. I'm just kind of trying to analyze what's happening here. Shives, you said you got in advanced class today. Oh, awesome. So you're full on Bogu right now, doing Jigeiko, I'm guessing. So tell us a little bit about how your experience has been from transitioning from no Bogu into Bogu. That would be actually pretty good too. Actually, when I'm training with George McCall Sensei, but he always tells me to call him George, so I feel kind of weird sometimes about that. But anyways, he's actually, I was asking him today because he has a new student that is transitioning into Bogu. So I was kind of asking, like, what are some of the things to keep in mind? How are the other students working and helping that person come in? So it's very interesting. I'm always very interested on finding out about how dojos are doing the development of their students. I feel that this fight is very what's it called? It's not very committed, right? When there are attacks, the attacks feel very like flat after the attack. Now, we had the same situation before where now red is the one that kind of, he actually wasn't flat on his feet, right? Like he actually was pushing. But look how good, after he comes into contact with the opponent's hands, right? Not necessarily Tatatari, but just coming in close after that hit. Look how he turns his body and gets away. Watch it. Right? I always say that if you want to have fluid footwork, you have to get used to the feeling of falling and use it to your favor. So if you look at red right now, You see that little tilt to go backwards? And he used that to his advantage in order to move away quicker. Watch. Comes in close, then tilts his body, and then uses gravity to help him get away faster. And when he needs to re-engage, he just switches the angle of the body so he can, hold his ground. And I always think that this is super interesting and something that maybe not so easy to replicate, right? So always keep that in mind. How can you move your body more efficiently? So I don't know if you saw this ippon. I'll play it one more time, regular speed, and it's pretty crazy. Maybe a little bit further back. Give me 1 second. Oh, sorry, I moved the screen. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay. So watch this exchange. Watch this ippon. So from a first look, you might think, oh, was that a kote? What happened there, right? But white is the one that gets the ippon. And what ends up happening, if you look at it in slow motion, both of them come in. And white actually hits the man of red after he attempted to come in for the kote, after he attempted the kote, and he's able to get a good enough impact in such an awkward position. So if you watch, so red already through his kote, he's wide open. I guess this is one of the reasons why sensei tell you, don't bring your shin out to the side after kote. Always try to keep your sword in front of you. Oh my God. Always try to keep your sword in front of you. So red is wide open. White, if you look at the back foot of white, he's pushing forward. So his mid launch, but still he managed to change the angle of his sword to hit in such a weird way to the side, but with good enough impact. And then look at the position of his body. His body, it's going pretty much the position where red was before. So he's able to hit in such an awkward angle and then continue on the same path that he was before. But then he re-engages, he twists his body, and to get away again, he uses gravity and then readjusts in order to get his ground. Such a quick moment. This is not something that you can really predict. This is not something that you can really plan. It's just instinct and being able to know how to use your body. This is very important to understand how can you be in balance as much as possible, because without your grounding, without your feet, it will be impossible for you to actually be able to get this type of techniques. So yeah, this is a crazy ippon, I think. So very interesting. Discipline. It pays to have upright posture. White took advantage for that man. Yeah, totally. Because it's not that what's it called? It's not that white wasn't ready or anything like that. He was mid-launch, so it's kind of crazy that because of his upper posture, because of his balance, he was able to shift and take that opportunity as it presented itself. Use Gund Mai. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for passing by. Is there any tips to strike do? Actually, in practice today, someone I was practicing with had a very close do. So if you don't mind me asking, what is the challenge or what's the trouble that you're going through when it comes to the do? So because there are many, it could be many advices, but just to be specific. So is there anything specific that you're struggling with when doing do? We can talk about that. This is a great exchange. I always say that when you come back after a nippon, after a pause during your shiai, you gotta be extra mindful of your opponent because everything could change. Right now, red is feeling the pressure, and red is gonna try to get that point back, right? So, watch this first. The first thing that white does when he falls is try to cover himself. But this is something that happens very often. I see when people are not getting a good grip or when they do a weird angle on how they pull their sword. So please be extra careful on how you're gripping your sword and how you're swinging it in order to not lose your sword in the middle of a swing. So if you watch this, the shinai, he loses the shinai, and mainly the reason why he loses the shinai is if you look at... Okay, so right now he's still straight, but instead of pulling straight, he actually kind of pulls in such a way. Let me get shinai, maybe I'll hit the ceiling. Get back, guys. So, okay, let me not lose my deposit. So when he's hitting here, he's kind of going into an awkward position, right? So if you notice, if you don't have a good grip, if you're not holding your sword properly, where your fingers are supporting the sword, right? If you're like slightly out like this, like the sword can come out this way, right? It's very common, very easy. So if you have it properly, you can hit in different angles, yes, but you also have to adjust your right hand. And if this is happening often for you, where you're losing your sword, it might be just the angle where you're holding your sword. Galaxy, Ohio. So for me, it's night, so konbanwa, I guess, for me. But welcome to the stream. Thank you for passing by. Okay, I'm sorry, like I'm gonna call you Mai. Used Gun Mai. So, just if you have a better name that you want me to call you, please let me know. It's just kind of long. So you're saying that your sensei always tells you to strike first, then dash through, but you might do those at the same time, so your posture might be bad. Okay, so very interesting, very cool. Let's finish this fight. It's almost over, and then I can talk specifically about that. Okay. Well, it wouldn't be almost over if I don't put in regular speed. Bye. You know what I should do? I should make small videos of, or should catch a video of a man. Though, you see, it happened again to Red. Watch. Same thing, right? That he goes this way and then he loses the sword. A lot of times, we can see this pattern. It happens when you're, anxious, when you're trying to go fast. This is something that maybe he needs to kind of, put in his journal and practice to improve this specifically, so it doesn't keep happening. John, okay, awesome. Thank you for letting me know. Listen, I'm so sad that this is not sad, but I'm disappointed that this wasn't an ippon, and it wasn't an ippon, I think, by chance. But I think the entry from red was really good. Also, the reaction from white was really good. If you watch here, see, red is slowly creeping in. He's not really throwing himself out there, and he's kind of trying to keep up with white. He doesn't want to go immediately to attack. Why? Because at this point, at this distance, it will be highly predictable, and all that white will need to do is just take maybe one step back and then mess up with his distance. So he wants to avoid that, right? As he's coming in, he does that push, and he does a little bit of pressure, not pressure, but like holding, right? And white kind of tries to take some ground back, gives pressure, and instead of going back, red comes forward a little bit more. Now, white went backwards. I think that's what kind of messed up a little bit of his distance, but he tried to come in to do a suriage, which I think is a great use of this technique at this point. But he missed. Oh, maybe he didn't try to do suriage. I mean, he tried to go around to go for a kote, but because his opponent was in motion, he missed the opportunity. But I think it was a great, and white almost got the point like he did on the first time, right? Okay, John, so I watched this fight before, and there's a do here, but I am going to say this. This do for Kaeshi do is not the same, right? Like, I'll talk a little bit about some of the differences in a minute, but we can probably use it for reference as well. But if you watch, so sometimes when there's that exchange of men and Kaeshi do, a lot of the times if the pressure is right, if the attention is right, the Kaeshi do will probably win. The Kaeshi do will most likely win if there's if there's a good communication. Kaeshi do can win over men many times, but sometimes it happens where men is the technique that is successful, and this is one of those cases, right? So there's a couple of things that made it possible to be successful, I think. One of them is that red is coming in, is closing the distance, but he's not throwing himself blindly. Okay, a second. Red then comes in with such an explosive power, such explosive moment, and by messing up the timing, he's able to catch the man before white had the opportunity to cover himself. So watch one more time. Let's slow it down for a second. So the one thing that I really enjoy from this right now is if you watch red's back foot. Give it a second. Okay, red tries to put pressure by bringing the right leg forward, right? Then he brings the back leg a little bit back and anchors himself to start pushing forward. And he starts the motion slowly. So it's probably almost not registering in the brain of white, right? He feels that he's gonna come, but maybe hasn't really registered. Maybe he has. But the fact that he started that motion and white still kind of flat-footed, I think it gave it a little bit of an edge. So that way white was kind of caught, not necessarily off guard, but he kind of was a little bit late to be able to react properly. And one of the biggest problems that people tend to have when doing Kaeshi do is that they just get flat-footed. They just wait for the attack to come in. I don't necessarily think that white was waiting here, but definitely he got caught in that moment where he wasn't with that intention forward. See, he kind of stopped. He pushed the leg forward, but then he stopped. And that was enough because red was in motion forward was enough to catch the ippon. So yeah, it's a cool ippon, I think. Now, as I mentioned before, this is a team fight, and being a team fight is very important that you play it smarter for your team. A lot of times, like if you are in a position where you had a point lost and you're in individuals, maybe there's going to be some time towards the end of the match that you want to explode and try to risk it, either win or lose, right? But in a team fight, you cannot really do that. So you want to try to preserve as much as you can. So you either win. If you cannot win, okay, you want to win by 2 points. If you cannot win by 2 points, you win by 1. If you cannot win, tie. And if you're losing, you want to try to lose with the least amount of points possible. Discipline, you're saying that's why you're not a fan of Ojiwasa. You need to perform 2 moves to beat your one move, and I need to do those 2 moves with precision and a tight window of time. Practice, my friend. That's the only way that can happen. I don't agree with the whole thing about 2 moves, because ideally you want to do it in 1 move, and the beginning of Ojiwasa should look just like Shikakewasa. If you're waiting, it is 2 moves. And this is kind of, again, I'm not saying that White was waiting, but he was flat-footed. He got caught right in that moment where he didn't have momentum in his body. This is crucial, I think. But I think it should be done in 1 motion. That's what I'm saying. 1 movement. It should be 1 fluid thing, right? Of course, there are gray areas, but again, this is same things happening, right? Red goes for that kote, White tries to get that. Now, at this point, it's coming close to the end of the fight, and both players now are trying to fight it as if it just started, right? Somebody's trying to get a point. Somebody's trying to get a win. So, time's up. Now, John, let me address your question real quick. I'm gonna use this ippon as a brief example. Okay. Okay. Let's watch the do real quick. We know it wasn't an ippon, but we're gonna watch the do. So the timing for kaeshi do is different than shikake do, for example, right? In this case, for kaeshi do, he is landing the technique with already the right foot down on the floor. When you're doing regular do for practice, you want to do it in 1 motion with your fumikomi. And it also is the same case for nuki-do, for example, right? But for kaeshi-do, it's a little bit different. So please be careful that maybe you are landing the do already kind of moving to the side, and this could cause you problems. So that being said, the first tip to go for do is to not go on the side when you're gonna go for the do. You want to try to go straight forward, then go to the side. So if your sensei is telling you that you're kind of doing that motion, maybe it's because you're trying to get out quicker, but maybe, again, I will have to see it though, but to kind of give a little bit more specific advice. But many times what happens is that you either got too close, so by the time that you do the do, you're trying to do the do and then get out, right? And my advice is try to hit the do with this part of the shinai right on the side, right? So don't hit it on the front. Don't let the tip go too far deep. So if you do that, if you do that with your arms extended, you have enough space. So then after you can go out and not really get caught with your partner. But if you come in and you're too close, you have no other option to kind of make it in one motion to get out of the way. Does that make sense? I don't know if that's specifically because I haven't seen your doll, but that's one of the things that you want to keep in mind. You want to go forward rather than going to the side, and the way to do that is to understand the distance. Doll is you have to come a little bit closer to the opponent in the distance, like, or your step has to be a little bit longer when you come in to do doll versus men, right? But at the same, on the other side of the coin, you don't want to come in too close where you're hitting with the middle of the shinai or where you're hitting the front of the do. I wish I had like a little Kendo dummy, like a little, so I can, do this, maybe the size of the shinai. But you want to make sure that you're hitting with your hands extended and then get out. If you're doing do against somebody, for example, coming in for men, you also have to keep in mind of that distance. And maybe, I don't know if your sensei does it like this. I don't know if your dojo does it like this, so please consult with your sensei. But maybe a lot of times, in my experience, it has helped for the person to learn to do the do. But instead of going to the right, go to the left, right? Like do it as one hit, and then kind of not necessarily going to the left for practice, kind of going straight. So you hit the do and the partner will move to your right, so they're left. So you can go through and get that timing first of where to get the right distance, the right motion, the right movement, and then you can practice going whichever way you want. Hope that makes sense. Hope that doesn't make it confusing. John, you feel free to put it in the comments if you have any questions about this. So guys, today I wanted to share a little bit of my technique for journaling, and hopefully you find it interesting and useful. The main thing, useful. I want this to be a resource that you can use and something that hopefully you can progress with. If you don't know, if you maybe, Shen, you're passing by, welcome to the stream. And discipline. Let me just catch up with the comments real quick before I start the section. You practice Ojiwasa to have complete Kendo, but you never put yourself in a situation where you need to use it. If you have to use Ojiwasa, you mismanage your distance and timing. I completely disagree, brother. I'm sorry, but I completely disagree with that. It's part, like, if you're saying that it's complete Kendo, but then at the same time you are putting yourself to a position where you don't use it, then what do you do when somebody is coming in and you're in the middle of a motion, right? Like that's one thing. But the other hand is that Shikake Wasa doesn't work for everybody, right? And not for everybody and not for every situation. So Ojiwasa exists for a reason. And I don't think it's two motions, as you said before. And on the other hand, I think that, yes, it makes Kendo complete. And so that's why you should use it. You shouldn't wait. I don't think that the perception of Ojiwasa for some people is correct, in the sense that they just wait for the opponent to come in to then do their technique. I don't see it like that. The way I see it is that you start your motion you want to put, and on the ideal world, right? Like not external factors, and you want to come in, put pressure, and then you make a decision. Do you have an opening to go? Or because of your pressure, your opponent is coming? Because it's impossible to say, I'm going in and my opponent's gonna just stand there regardless of what I do. So this is the moment where I think Ojiwasa becomes, I guess, the most perfect use, right? Like the ideal use. But again, we can have a stream only on that if this is the case. Okay, guys. If you haven't followed the stream for a while, like if you don't know this about myself, I'm a certified health coach, and I also went to school for music therapy. So because of the research that I have read and my studies, whatever, I developed my own technique for journaling, and it's research-based. It's a research-based technique. I'm welcome to share this with you. If you have any questions, make sure to please ask me. But the main purpose of this is to promote positivity in your thinking and in your way of seeing your Kendo, seeing yourself. You can use this with anything, by the way. The way that this was introduced for me was during my internship, as a matter of fact. So, and not for Kendo, right? I didn't do an internship for Kendo. But you want to try to keep a better outlook of your Kendo rather than get negative and try to look at the bad stuff. So I'll explain that today. Shen, you're saying have what you want is your skill set expands your window of timing and distance. And then discipline by definition is to move. If not, it will be semete do. You mean kaeshi do. Is that what you mean? But okay, listen, like we can do like lawyer talk, right? Like 2 moves, 3 moves. Yes, okay. What I'm saying is that you want to do it in one motion, in the sense that fluidly you want to put pressure and then engage into a technique. You do not, as a matter of fact, it is not 2 motions, because you don't block and then go. You smoothly go in and up and down. It's one swing. You don't do 2. If you do 2, you're blocking and then hitting, which is also, it could also be kaeshi do. But again, I understand your point. Like if you want to like talk about the specific details and how do you want to break down these details, but ideally on a perfect world, it should be 1 motion. But if you're going to use this as an excuse to say ojiwasa shouldn't be used, I disagree. I'm sorry. Like I respect your opinion, but I don't think that complete Kendo, as you said, I don't think complete Kendo is complete without ojiwasa. But you have to do it without waiting. You cannot be waiting for the opponent. John, you said tomorrow is your first tournament in Kendo. Okay, do your best. You'll play Taisho. You want to try to strike Do or Tsuki. Okay. Don't go with the mindset. Okay, my recommendation is don't go with the mindset, I want to do this. Why? Because then you will close yourself to the possibility that is actually there. So maybe you want to do the Do, but your opponent is not lifting the hands. You want to do the Tsuki, but he's not letting you close the distance. So you might want to try different things. Be open. Don't be greedy. That's a sensei that I used to practice with. He will tell me this. Don't be greedy, right? It's not about what you want. It's about what's there. And you're saying probably I'm right. Also, would I please show you my sanshin when you strike Tsuki? Give me a second, guys. Like this thing is. Okay, now it's plugged, I guess. So you're asking the sanshin for Tsuki, bro. Like if you haven't practiced Tsuki and being able to be confident with it, I will say avoid trying to do it in the first tournament. Okay, you want to go and try to find the if you feel that you're good at it, awesome. But honestly, my main point with Tsuki, and I'm not good at Tsuki, right? As a matter of fact, this is one of the biggest things that I've been practicing since I got here. And the main thing is that you want to attack, and if you miss it, you want to be ready to go again. So this is the biggest thing. If you miss it, you should be in a good position. Your feet should be engaged. And if you score it, you should feel confident enough, and you should also be guarded enough as to if your opponent decides to do something, you should, I guess imagine as if you missed it, you should be ready to do anything that you need to do in order to take care of that situation. Hope that makes sense. But yeah, we can talk more about this. Shen, you said a situation that happened to you is often that you guide your front foot forward and then your opponent doesn't come, and while your foot is gliding, so no chance for a debanamen, then they start their motion. So I think I'm going through something similar, right? Like you kind of commit when it was too early. I'm actually, because I'm working so hard on my footwork and approaching my opponent, this is one of the most common problems that happen. I think I'm gonna tell you the same thing that I got told today. You gotta do it. You gotta practice it. You know. You saying, Shen, you're not good at Kashido. You break it down. Just take your time. Good morning, Luis. You enjoy the streams and you look forward to the video cast. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for passing by. You're really appreciated here. Okay, so again, guys, enough talking. I have this sheet right here, and this is my format for journaling. Okay, if you guys have any questions along the way, please let me know. And you might notice that it's very simple, right? So what I do is that I try to, it's simple. The journaling is simple. And at the same time, the journaling is not mandatory, right? Sometimes one thing that you journal for it could be good for you for 1 week, 1 month, right? As long as you keep it present in mind. So you don't have to journal after every practice if you don't feel like you need to. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to say, okay, I need to journal or else I'm not gonna get better. It's good if you make it a habit, but definitely something that you don't need to, stress too much about it. Westblade, you don't have to call me sensei. Jose is good. Thank you very much. I appreciate the respect, but I want to be more of a, I don't want to be like, sensei, whatever. But is there a strange pause in the audio for anyone else? Or, okay, let me know, because that's a clean porn. I care a lot for the audio. So one thing that you want to, okay, discipline, you said when you do Ojiwasa, you fail attempt at the Banawasa. So to make up for that, you have to beat your opponents one move with, I don't see it that way. I'm sorry, bro. I don't see it that way. I don't see it that Ojiwasa is a failure on your approach. It's just, you have to understand the opponent. There's many factors out there. And if you look at Hachidan tournaments, man, like if you're telling me that you can go as it's so many things, man. I don't agree. I just don't agree. Wes, you think that Ojiwasa is not used as a reaction? I completely agree. You have to control your opponent in order to successfully. Granted, discipline. I understand what you're saying, but I don't think you're seeing, or I don't think you're expressing the whole picture, because it's not about blocking. It's not about waiting. It's about being able to address every situation. And a big part of it is provoking your opponent into doing a technique. And for many different reasons, Ojiwasa fits better and actually fits over Shikakewasa. But anyways, I wanna get over with the journaling part, because this is very important, I think. So again, the journaling part, it doesn't have to be something that's stressful, but I do make it as simple as possible. Why? Because then it will encourage you to finish it. Ideally, you want to journal as soon as possible after your practice, but of course, sometimes life happens, so you have to do it the next day, the next week. It's fine. You don't even have to go to practice that day in order to say, okay, you know what? I feel like I need to journal. So it could be done at any time when you're actually thinking about your kendo. Now, the main thing, and if you don't do anything else, if you do one thing, is the first section. If you see 3 things I did good. So I'm gonna share with you guys about my practice for today, and I will put as an example. Let me see. So normally looking for the good things takes more effort than looking for the bad things. Every time we mess up, we beat ourselves up. You have to change this perspective. You have to force yourself to looking at the good parts, because then this way you can actually visualize for yourself what good kendo looks like. So for example, today I felt that not every time, not in every exchange, but I felt that I had a strong man, right? I did a strong man. As a matter of fact, my last man of the day, I didn't score it. I actually didn't. I don't think I hit it, but I had good commitment. So I'm gonna put that good commitment. Let me see, and then something else that I feel like I did good. And I'm focusing right now on the Jigeko specifically, but okay, didn't, or I guess like I did do go back a couple of times, but let me see. Okay, in every Jigeko, the first ippon, I was highly engaged. Okay, so this is something that you want to make a habit for yourself, right? And because if you manage to make this a habit, sometimes we tend to forget to kind of congratulate ourselves or to like recognize that we actually achieved this. So maybe all these things are things that happen once in a while during one practice, or maybe this is something that happened in every time that you did Jigeko, or every time you did your Kihon. You want to pick up some of these things that you're trying to recognize for yourself. You want to put them in your head and try to visualize better kendo for yourself. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now, the next thing that I focus on, that I try to do for my journaling, is what is something that I could do better, right? So for me, actually, I'm going to say follow through, right? Okay, follow through. Good thing that we have autocorrect here. So this is something that I want to improve. And right now, this is out of the top of my head right now, right? So what do I mean for follow through? I'm talking about having a little bit more fluidity after the attack, being able to kind of smoothly get away from my opponent, whether it is to do ta-tari and then getting away, ta-tari, or like, having to turn quickly and moving away. So mainly has to do with my footwork after. So maybe I would say follow through, footwork, right? Purposely, I only put one thing here, something I could do better. And notice I don't say something I did wrong. It's just something I could do better. Now, based on what I feel like I'm doing good and something that I could do better, I try to keep in mind what are some of the things that will get me to improve that thing that I'm looking for, or kind of guide me to the kendo that I want to have. And in order to do that, I need to just have focus points. I put 3 here, but 1 is enough, okay? You don't want to have too many focus points, especially during Jigeko, because then you're gonna overwhelm yourself. So based on follow through, focus points for this, I'm gonna say, let's see, what would be a good focus point to solve this issue? And this is a good way, and this is the process. This is why this is good, because it forces you to really kind of see yourself, maybe see other people's kendo, and try to see, okay, how can I build this? And let's say but if you guys have a suggestion, please bring it up. Better follow through, I'm gonna say pushing with the back leg, right? So again, maybe by understanding that if I have more momentum, more power coming in, I'm gonna be able to, or keeping in mind that I have to push with my back leg, it's going to get me to have more momentum and able for me to go out quicker, right? Next, practice footwork. And what this means to me is just to be mindful of my footwork during my Kihon, even before practice, during Jigeko. Just pay attention to my feet, right? Or maybe I should put that instead of practice footwork, right? Pay attention to footwork. Then the third one, I would say the sound, right? Listen to your footwork. Listen to the footwork. So these are three things that are specifically working on the thing that I want to do better. Now, this is if you have your goal to be for what you want to do better for this practice. But before doing your journaling, you have to have your plan and you have to have your goals, right? So if you have your goals, you can easily break down what are the things you need to do in order to start building up your kendo. Okay, and I could do goals. I can talk about goals for a long time, but I'm not gonna do it right now. If you want to work on your goals, you can let me know and we can do something, right? But this is the format that I got specifically, and this is the format that I've been using for school, for work, and kendo. But for kendo, there's one addition that I normally put in there is sensei's comment, right? So for example, today a comment has two M's, right? Okay, it's more fun with the capitals and not all capitals. And for example, today, Sae and Fumikomi were lacking at times. So this was the comment that I received today, right? So if I don't see this, if I didn't see this, if I didn't consider that to myself, the sensei's comments obviously are going to be extremely important. And then I can try to think, why did he tell me this? What happened? How can I make it better? And then work on building myself into the kendo that I want to have. So guys, if you have your own way of journaling, I would like to know, and I would like to know how you keep yourself motivated to keep doing it. This is a thing very important. But the main thing is that what makes, or how do you make your journaling effective, right? Hope that makes sense. And let me catch up with some of the comments. Shen, you said that you do journaling by clipping your gifts. So actually you're great at that, and that's actually awesome. I do the videos, I watch the videos, and I try to look for the positive and stuff like that. And I do this separately from my journaling, but I do keep my journaling in mind. Oh, and by the way, guys, sorry, I forgot to say this. Main thing, when you do this, right, you want to keep those focus points always in mind. And I always try to get my journal or wherever I wrote it down for the last practice and read those focus points before I get into the next practice. This is I think that having a positive outlook in your practice and then reminding yourself of what is it that you need to do, that you know that you have to do, are the key points to making your journaling successful. So whichever way you choose to do, I will say keep those things in mind that are the things that are going to help you, change your kendo into whatever you want it to be. So, Shen, you said, okay, you do a friend by friend, looking for when you're doing something wrong, right? And when you're doing something wrong, this has helped you improve, definitely. And I want to make a video about all this stuff specifically. But yes, that's awesome. You see yourself dipping vertically down before pushing. So next practice, you insisted on a kamae with a feeling of falling forward. So when you strike, you fall forward, and this is the best part, to be experimenting. This is definitely what's gonna get you there. And then discipline, like we can talk if you want to talk in the Discord server about ojuwas and stuff like that. Feel free to do so. But I want to stick to the journaling part right now, and we're gonna watch some of the team fights. Because again, I think we're talking about similar things, but we're like in different pages, in different parts. I don't know. Have you tested like what was your last shinza like, right? Like, so because at a point there's a part where like judges will also look at how you approach your opponent, and a lot of the times you're going to have to depending on the opponent, have to use Ojiwasa. So I'm curious about how you approach this. And John, you said how to breathe correctly when you keiko. You always get so tired after 2 minutes or even kirikaeshi. So kirikaeshi is the answer, bro. John, if you want to improve your breathing, I think kirikaeshi is a great point to do it. If you try to do as so you know, kirikaeshi has 2 sets. So if you try to do one full set in one breath, it's gonna suck. It's gonna feel horrible, but it's one of the things that's gonna give you stronger and better ki and help you understand how to breathe. The other thing is, if you do like kakarigeko, try to do 3 passes, right, with one breath. You don't have to do the 3 passes if you feel like maybe you're out of breath and whatever, but you want to try to push yourself to that point. If you are doing kirikaeshi and you cannot do one breath, at least try to connect the last hit before you go back to do the big man again. Connect that last hit with the ki until you hit again. Does that make sense? So go man, take as many breaths as you need, and the last one, man. If you can at least connect this, I think this helps a lot. But if you can do one full set, that's awesome as well. Okay, guys. Oh, wow, we've been here for a little while. So let's watch one more fight on this. Oh, okay, hold on. Okay, so this was the second point. Okay, second fight. This is a really, let me go back on this real quick. This is a great launch. And one thing that I feel that makes it great is that first step. Watch it one more time. So if you watch, you see this first step where he, okay. A big point that we tend to, let me put it in regular speed. A big point that we tend to forget to pay attention to, or something that maybe, you know, it gets into the back of our head and we don't pay too much attention, is the rhythm to which we moved. So the forward leg, it can be, how do I say this? When you move your feet, you don't have to move the back leg at the same rhythm that you move your forward leg, and vice versa. So a lot of times if you tell somebody you have to move your back leg quick, they immediately try to push fast and quick with the forward leg. And ideally what you want to do is you want to use the forward leg to either gauge your opponent, or maybe you want to go quick, but then the back leg, in my opinion, has to snap quick whenever you move, because then it will give you the stability to launch forward. And I really like how White does it here, because he comes in quick and then he lunges into a technique, right? So he comes in quick and lunges, but he could also have thrown the foot slowly and then engage into that technique. Of course, depending on the situation, right? Great core awareness from White, right? Like he knew he was close to the border, so he held his ground. Oh, that was. This is one of the things that you have to be very careful on how you approach your opponent. Again, kote, degote, degashira kote can be very tricky, very risky. And at the same time, throwing a man when somebody's approaching you for that kote can also be very risky. So I think both sides had a very risky approach. If you watch, white gives pressure, red kind of readjusts the distance. Sorry, sometimes this thing gets stuck. So white gives the pressure, red readjusts the distance, and immediately he goes for a motion. So he doesn't attack, but he is holding his ground. He's trying to get a reaction. And then his opponent is coming in after there's kind of like a second attempt. But the cool thing about this is that he kind of went into that moment in between. Right? So if you watch, he did this motion right here, tried to get a reaction. His opponent kind of went around and he's trying to move his sword around. But then red was able to kind of squeeze in there in a moment where he was completely open. And when I talk about fluidity, guys, and the specific thing that I'm working on, that fluidity after the strike, watch this. Watch what red does after he does the man, right? Bam. He does the hit, he crashes, but then immediately he switches to get out, and he does it so sharply, right? The use of the body, the use of the feet is very impressive to me at this level, so quick, because he put all that power, he bounced, and he didn't fight against that energy, right? Very cool in my opinion. Nice attempt for that kote, man. White seems nervous now, right? Like he's trying again. It's very tricky because this is a team fight. So remember, the first fight was a tie. The second one, now they're losing down for a point. They don't want to be in a position where he doesn't want to put his team in a position where now they have to fight for 2 points. But at the same time, he wants to try to recover that point as quick as possible. Oh, it's a lot of. I really enjoy when you have this type of exchanges when there's a lot of power. A lot of power on this, like coming from like a still position, right? Oh, it wasn't here. Hold on, give me a second. So you see, they're kind of in this position where it's kind of tricky. They're not in Subaseriae. They're kind of like in a weird in a weird point, and then red decides to go around the sword to go for a technique. So it's very, very cool. Um, Discipline said, don't count white out. That's Ikeda from Tsukuba University. Totally. And I'm gonna say this. This is one of the main things. So he looked nervous, and we just saw that he scored Nippon. And when you are in a Shiai, after you lose a point, you have to stay within your kendo, right? You have to do your kendo. If you start kind of getting creative, where you try to do things that you haven't really practiced, or doing your kendo in a way that you never do, most likely you lose that point. But let's watch this ippon real quick. Very cool, very cool. So this is part of kind of what I was talking about when I'm mentioning using your right foot to feel your opponent, and also to kind of help you create momentum. So if you watch it from a little bit before. Hold on. Come on, go so back. Okay. Watch this. He comes in, and then he starts throwing his leg in, and then he explodes, right? Great ippon. And watch how he's trying to also, I always call this overwhelming the opponent, right? Getting a lot of movement with the shinai as they approach the opponent, and then taking advantage of that in-between moment where the opponent is kind of focused too much maybe on the sword. It doesn't really register, or it hasn't really registered they're coming, and then coming in for a technique. Watch one more time, full speed. It's so quick, so many things happening in one moment that it makes it hard for the brain kind of to process all this information. And if you're in that moment where your brain kind of shuts off for a fraction of a second, that's it, you're done. Oh, sorry, I don't know what happened here. Great ippon. Discipline is saying Keisho recruits Ikeda because he's guaranteed to put points on the board, either 2-0, 1-0, or Hikiwake. Cool. Great core awareness again. You see, he's on the edge, but he knows it. But wait, Discipline, you're saying that this Ikeda, he's from Tsukuba, but he's in Fukuoka though, right? So why is he in Fukuoka? Oh. Again, you see, no Hansoku for that attempt for the Hikiwasa. Oh, no Hansoku for that attempt at Hikiwasa. These are the type of things that I think that we should all kind of work for a repertoire, right? Finding that stability and the right position to be ready to go for that Hikiwasa. Watch. Right? He had the right positioning at his feet, and that made it possible for him to be ready to go back. Wasn't Nippon, but great attempt. So now Red is the one that looks like he's in the ropes, right? I always say that normally the person that it's psychologically stronger at this point is the one controlling the center, and that's what White is doing right now, but it could also be a trap. Red has done a great job at putting white on the edge though. he's definitely you know, they were playing it smart, both of them. Discipline, quick question though, because if he is in Tsukuba, he should be registered on the Federation up north, right? So that's kind of, I don't know how that will work though, because if he, unless he didn't ever register up there. Oh, you guys. So, sorry. So right now we have 2 Hikiwake, right? That is a crazy angle that he hit in, right? So this is something obviously that you could practice. You could do this practice in the dojo, right? Notice that a lot of times when people practice this in the dojo, they try to do it like, you know, covering already like this, so they have to kind of go into the sakura angles. I think this is very this is not like a realistic scenario. At that point, I don't think it's really worth for you to kind of go through all that trouble to go in that kote, especially because there are high chances that your sword might get stuck here. It might not look like an ippon. It might actually get stuck here and your opponent can go around and hit the man. So you have to be careful with that. I think training maybe for like an angle like here, okay, it's fine. But when you're training like this, at this point, it's kind of a little bit of awkward motion. But I always say that the secret to getting kotes like this is to line up your shinai with your opponent's shinai. So for example, if this is your shinai, this is your opponent's shinai, if you want to hit that kote, if the shinai is like this, you want to have your shinai the same angle to be able to hit it here, right? But it's not about just lining your kote. It's not about just lining the shinai with the kote, but you have to anticipate so you can throw it at that moment. So it becomes, this is I think the hardest part. But if you break it down, if you practice it slowly, I think it's a great way to start kind of becoming aware of these openings and be able to take advantage of it. And even if you don't get the ippon, if you kind of let your opponent know that that opening is there, it might actually make them change the way that they approach their techniques. So I think it's a great tool to use to practice. It's a great tool to practice. James, you have a 1 to 3rd Q Taikai next week. Do you have any tips to help you win, or just any tips with Shiai matches in general? Shiai tip at this time, so close to the tournament, I will say do your kendo. What are these things? Let's see. I'm getting like this icons. Oh, okay, I messed up. Okay. I messed up my chat now. Sorry, I tried to click something that showed up here and I messed up my chat. Okay, so what I'm going to say is that you want to try to do your kendo. Be confident on what you've been practicing. If you are going to have practices before the tournament, visualize yourself in the tournament so you don't get anxious about being there, right? You kind of get you get used to the feeling of being there. If you are 1 point under, relax, do what you've been training. Don't just blindly go and attack. if you have something that is kind of, and I know the audio on that stream is horrible, so I talk about it because I want to do it again. But if you go to the sports psychology stream that I did, one of the things you can do is write down the things that you feel are going to be a challenge for you and try to figure out solutions for these problems. So there's no kind of like, if anybody tells you, oh, do something different than what you've been doing, this, I think this is not the right advice, because it's going to get you to be in an uncomfortable position. So do what you've been practicing and plan for a way to feel more comfortable there. Things that I do, and specifically for that, is I have like, I'm gonna call it a mantra, but like this little thing that I tell myself repeatedly, right? To just make sure that I understand what is it that I'm doing there. So for example, I say, like, before my fights, it's relax, go forward, pay attention, right? Like, just keep it simple. Things like this to kind of make you more comfortable in that situation. During the fight, if you start, getting tired, for example, your mind is gonna start playing games with you. So you want to kind of have some positive vocabulary ready for those type of things. Like, if your legs start getting tired, your head tells you, oh my God, like you cannot do this because this is your legs. You start feeling your legs. Well, one thing that you have to tell your brain is like, this is normal. I'm working out, right? I'm moving. So yeah, I know that they're in pain. Shut up. Let's keep going. So that way you will have a better outlook and a better position in the Shiai. Oh, Shen. Oh, so you guys, okay, guys, if you guys could take a picture together, right? Like, and just like send it to me. That'll be cool. I would like to get to know how you guys do in the tournaments, and you guys do your best, okay? Remember that Kendo is about building friendships, So it's awesome that you guys. Oh, that's another thing. Oh, that's a big tournament advice. Keep the pressure within yourself, right? So a lot of times when you go to a tournament, because you see a lot of old friends and stuff like that, we start making jokes, we start like laughing and blah blah, and we lose the focus of the moment. Being focused in the moment doesn't mean that you have to be a bad person to your friends or to the people around you, but you want to try to avoid kind of losing that a little bit, because that tension, it's also good for you, right? Like the little bit of adrenaline and understanding how your body is going to be at that moment. This is extremely helpful for you during competition. It's what's gonna make you like it's what makes it extra for tournament, different than the practice in the dojo, right? For example, that's one of the things I feel for me. So definitely try to keep that pressure in, focus. After you're done, make sure that you say thank you to your opponent, and then when the tournament is done, everybody is friends, right? But in the moment, for example, for me, it's like I avoid trying to talk to people. I come and do my thing. I do my warm-ups, do my thing. After the fight, also I sit down. I don't talk to anybody. I want to try to process whether I won or lost. I want to try to process, and then okay. But if I have to keep fighting, I keep that focus and keep going. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, but let me know, and we can talk about if you. As a matter of fact, I don't think I have put the Discord, but the Discord, it's on the chat now. If you would like to pass by, say hello, and if you need to send me a message, that's a good way to do it. So okay, as I said, these kotes are extremely useful to have in your repertoire. Please practice them, enjoy them. Oh. Guys, if you haven't, take a second, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. It helps the streams to go out to more people. Oh, that's okay. This is something that you want to be very careful, right? especially when you have somebody that is very athletic and understands how to move their body. Watch what happens when red throws himself. White is immediately adjusting the position. It's a very dangerous place to be. And the problem is not that he's exposed, is that he's going to be exposed for a long time, because all the way to here, unfortunately, white missed his chance, right? Like white missed the chance. He kind of shot a little bit too early. But if you would have kept his hands down, all the way until here, he was going to be vulnerable. So this is very, very important to understand that when you miss these chances, you have to be very mindful of the intention of your opponent. If they're going back, definitely you want to try to close the distance as quick as possible, and do whatever you need to do so you don't get hit. James, you asked for Shiai advice. The best advice I ever gotten was on my very first dojo. They told me, treat the sword as if it is a sword. Don't treat it as a stick. Think about it, that this thing is dangerous and the other person's trying to kill you with it. That way you actually fight for real. You have to fight. It's not about, oh, he's gonna hit me so bad he hit me. No, have that feeling that you could be in danger, like he could kill you with this thing. And then, I think a different fire turns on as well. In Shiai specifically, I tried to avoid thinking about, oh, how does my kendo look? What am I doing? One time in a tournament, I actually did something ridiculous. Never done. I hope I never do it again. Never done it again. But I went for a kote and I missed the kote completely. And I was exposed, and I was so scared that I was exposed that I really just shoved myself in there and just kind of like tackle my opponent. But then I ended up in a weird position, so I ended up going backwards. So I was like, pushing him with my back, but trying to stick as quick as possible because I was afraid of being hit, of being touched by a sword. So yeah, that being said, fight as if you are having a sword rather than stick in your hand. And don't be doing this weird twist that I did, okay? So this moment, you saw how white came in, put that pressure, but he didn't go for that technique. I'm preparing to make a video about when is the right time to attack. So yeah, this is I've been thinking about this for a while. So this definitely one of the moments where you don't want to attack, because he understood that feeling that his opponent was not primed for it. You see, he's coming in and his opponent's immediately going backwards. So he's closing the distance, he's doing the different steps, and he's approaching his opponent a little bit differently than if his opponent was coming in forward, right? Oh, he got stuck. I hate when that happens. Such a great opportunity to come in, but he got stuck. Because if you notice, if you see what happened here, he's actually coming in very close to his opponent. Not because he needs to be that close to score, but because he's kind of anticipating that his opponent is going backwards. Again, I'm assuming this. I'm thinking this is what's happening. I'm not saying this is exactly what's happening. And then he gets stuck, but okay, that happens. Talking about selling a technique. Watch. Talking about selling a technique, watch this. Right? He puts all the energy into it. He goes in as if he scored that technique very sharply. And again, one of the biggest things that I enjoy watching is how he used the feeling of falling to his favor. in order to move out quicker. So watch his body, watch Red's body, right? He's in this position where he's falling, but at the same time, he's pushing. Watch his legs, right? He's pushing himself back. And of course, when he needs to slow down, he shifts the angle of his body in order to stop. But he was able to cover such a big distance in so little time by taking advantage of the feeling of falling. Definitely a great tool to have under your sleeve. Hey, where's my mouse? Okay. That moment when you don't know what to do, you watch Red in this moment. Watch. This is a very dangerous moment, but so I feel that at this point Red is kind of like losing a little bit of energy. Maybe I don't know, feels frustrated because he feels like he has some points. This is another point. You cannot let that get to your head. If you're not getting your ippons, forget about it. Go for the next one. Don't be thinking, especially, I don't like to say, oh, the judges are not giving do, the judges are not giving kota today. It's not that. If you didn't get it, it wasn't good enough, just like brush it off. Go again. Do it. Do what you need to do. Keep going. Don't waste time on that, especially in the fight. It's a lot of movement, and both of them are very nervous, right? Oh. I think that's a problem with the Shinai. Okay, I'm gonna move forward so that way. This is the most intense and dangerous time, right? Especially after having such a long time of the stallness. Now, coming back into a Hajime, it's nerve-wracking. They're both great at using their distance, right? Right now, again, it's a team fight, so they're not really going to go crazy. They don't want to put their team in an awkward position, in a bad position. They want to leave their team with the best possibilities to get the ippon, right? To get the win. And up to this point, it's all tie. Oh. You can expose yourself by not attacking, and you can expose yourself by attacking too much. Right? If you watch, White starts going with this crazy attacks, but between all of that, he exposed himself because it's easy. Listen, the more you attack and the more you attack the same way, the more you expose yourself for an opening. And when you start going into repeated techniques, you have to be careful because your opponent might catch your timing and get an ippon in between. Watch this. Bam. Kote. Watch it in regular speed. Yeah. Very dangerous situation, very dangerous moment to be. So please be mindful, right? Oh, hold on, I don't see the chat. Okay, so now, actually, now Red has 2 points. Red has taken 2 points, and wait, was I? Okay, Red has taken 2 points. Now the team is winning. So one of the biggest things that you want to be mindful again in a team fight is that you want to leave your team with a good possibilities of winning. So if you don't feel that you can win, you want to at least try to tie the fight. And if you don't tie, if you're losing a point, you definitely don't want to lose with 2 points, because every point is going to be harder to get against the other team in the next fights, right? So normally the first ippon of the first fight tends to be a little bit more freeing, right? Because both teams are going in very aggressively. Normally the first player to go in are the ones that are good in individuals competition. For example, they're very energetic. They're going there to try to show the spirit of the team. But at the point when the first ippon it gets scored, then you also want to kind of play with the thoughts that you are not just fighting for yourself, you're playing with your team. So if you're in team fights, guys, every time always think about how can you try to benefit the team, rather than saying I want to get that ippon, I want to take it, or anything that on I guess a bad way to say it, like don't be selfish, right? Guys, if you haven't, please help the channel by hitting the like button. Anybody, if you're here and you don't know, Kendo Tips has a Discord server that you can come and meet people there. You can message me, and I just put the link in the description. Also, you can become a member by clicking the link that I'm posting there. So if you like to help the channel so I can keep making more videos, I can keep making more of these things, you can become a member, and you also get some extra perks. And all the streams are free. All these things I do them because I study myself, and I want to have a resource for people to kind of at least explore their kendo, and hopefully we can all grow together. If you would like to say thank you and like to help me out too, you can also send me a super thanks. But again, all these things I do it because I want kendo to grow, and I hope that we all kind of meet each other at one point, we can practice together. Shen, you always keep striking over and over until the shimpan stops you. No time to think. Yeah, but it works until a certain level, man. Like at some point when you get somebody that understands the rhythm and understands what you're doing, might catch you off guard. And discipline. Perfect example, don't do what Nishimura did in the 2018 WKC finals. He fought Ando, right? If I'm not mistaken. I mean, Ando 2018. That was Korea, right? Yeah. Ando, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Ando looked very strong that day. He was like Ando was really good. Team finals. Sorry. Also, who did? Okay. And anyway, so I don't talk about the team finals on Korea Japan. I don't like to talk about that because I just didn't like that fight. But everybody. So again, if you have any questions, if there's anything I can help you with, please let me know. Again, I stay motivated to keep doing these things because I learned a lot and learned a lot talking to you guys. So feel free to make sure that, pass by the Discord. If you could, again, please hit the like button, but also help me by sharing this channel, sharing these videos is really helpful. This week, actually, I posted a new video. If you haven't watched it, I will appreciate if you can give it a watch. I'll put it here in a second. Give me 1 second. And give me your thoughts, because your feedback is definitely highly valuable in order for me to improve this video. So I'll put it right here so that way you guys can go check it out, and please give me your thoughts. Again, thank you very much, guys, for being here. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I'll catch you in the next one, and hopefully I'll post a video this week. So thank you very much, guys. You guys have a good rest of your day, your weekend. Fernando, saludos. ¿Cómo estás, papá? Hablamos luego. If you guys haven't, make sure to check out the Discord server. And thank you guys. You guys have a good rest of your day. Have good practice as well.